Okay, I haven't interacted much. I've been here and there, just chatting a tiny bit in chats and posting on the YouTube page for this channel and the post page where he posts random stuff. And I am very random with what I post sometimes. It's been a struggle for a trying to get a family member help, and it's put me under a lot of pressure. I'm getting a bit of a respite. They are being looked after by other family members at the moment to give me a bit of a break. Um, who'd have thought, like, actual real family values helping each other, right? Instead of going online, creating a fictional family that would be like the Wolf Den family, you know what I'm talking about, and then all those members of the family would just throw you under the bus in a heartbeat, desperation for court orders and trying to get away with things, right? 1 second. Okay. That's all right. I'm expecting a delivery. I thought somebody pulled up. Um, yeah, things is a little bit intense the last few weeks, but here we go with. We're going to talk about Russia a little bit, and I really think because Putin didn't understand the exponential development of present day technology or really pay attention to how present day technology is. I think that's one of his downfalls. Where he, whether that's true, how he would pay attention or not pay attention, I'm not sure. But I think it is because of his obsession with the past. XKGB, which got disbanded to FSB in 1991, it's still, and it was still carried on being the bullshit machine. The Kremlin, still the same bullshit machine it was during the Cold War. And some of these lies and propaganda, Putin ends up believing himself because his own inner circle would rather lie to him than be killed, right? You don't want to tell him the truth, you get thrown out the window or pushed down the stairs or something. It's that kind of separation from the real world because he's so addicted to this fantasy of gaining power. And a large part of Russia's stronghold has probably been because it's a big body of oil resources, right? Xi Jinping in China has aided the whole world extra fuel from their reserves, which outdoes the downfall of resources from both from Iran as well as out of Russia. Iran's a whole other issue. This fucking dumb prick American asshole Donald Trump pokes a bear in Iran, and I just America, what are you doing? Nothing. That's the problem. You like to talk, but you don't like to do anything because you don't know what to do because you're too fucking dumb to understand how to prioritize what to do and get it through. Your authority, all your authorities are diseased mindset via this fucking cult-like mentality. America is a cult of cults. It's a cult factory. And I know the word cult gets bandied around a lot, but for fuck's sake, look at it. It's got all the attributes of it, and it's like America is done by design. By the way, I'll make a separate video on that. America is a very dangerous problem. It is done by design for a lot of reasons. Um, Anyway, I've got a reply on Discord. Let's have a look. Okay. I just posted some stupid pictures on Discord. Just yeah, but the average Russian troop life expectancy according to Russian military bloggers, and these are average citizens blogging all the way up to some of people more qualified as well, and gathering that information, it looks like the average life expectancy from training to ground to dying in combat uh, is now somewhere between like 10 days or 3 weeks, up to 3 weeks, not even a month. Whereas life expectancy of the average Ukrainian troop is much longer because you go through training, all this, and there's a lot of drone technology going in. Of course, they're going into enemy lines physically themselves as well, but aided by this drone technology, which has been given a lot of money and resources from the UK. I think Canada got involved. Other countries, I think France got involved with aiding Ukraine with enough money and resources for that type of technology. And I really don't think he understood how that technology can be so well adapted to, because it can be so modular and adapted, and you're flying in these drones where it's being flown by people who are connected via a network, some troop on the ground, and then you'd see through cameras or whatever through the drone, or however GPS or where it is, whatever, however way they know where the drone is, they know where it is, but they're not actually there. They don't have to be there. They just aim it and direct it. And a lot of infrastructure is, the core parts of Moscow. Some of the Moscow is blowing up, and the average Russian citizen wants Putin dead. They don't care anymore. They don't care if they get killed for saying it, because it's them dying or Putin dead anyway. So there's barely any food in the supermarkets. There's cars lined up for what looks like miles to get to a fuel station, which is crazy. They're physically fighting each other to get, no, I was here first, this is my place, to get into the fuel stations, because it's actually running out. India is transporting, India was giving Russia fuel. And I don't think that's ever happened before. It's crazy. Ukraine is punishing Russia on the front lines and really gaining some land back. And it's like just 0.8% now in which Russia... It was a lot more than that initially that Russia had control of in Ukraine, but now they fought back, and it's like I've seen different things here, and you can get a calculation 0.8% on average, with some holes, I guess, of control within that landmass come back. And it's kind of like Swiss cheese, but it's not for long, because you come in around your enemies with their own technology, and coming in, that hole gets filled up, right? If that makes any sense. So all this while, Ukraine is targeting Russia logistics, roads, railways, attack drones deep into the heartlands of Russia. They're very, it's, people say, is Ukraine winning? I think in many ways, yes. Russia is just done. So I do believe in many ways. Yes, I've said months ago. Yeah, I think 2026 could be the end of the war, like officially, even though fighting would still go on. If that makes any sense, fighting would still go on, but it would be a guarantee that Russia's lost anyway. And it's almost there. It's just around the corner anyway, unless there's some stupid idiot that wants to go around and support a corrupt underdog. I'm all for supporting underdogs if they're not corrupt. And the corrupt underdog at the moment is Russia. And I call them underdog out of love for the average citizens. They're going through hell, right? Putin, get fucked. Of course, as the whole most of the world, the majority of the world, would be saying, has been saying. So there's about 83 regions. I'm looking at that. Hold on, 83 regions. Let me see how big. Hold on a second. So the drones are hitting in Russia. Drones are targeting oil refineries a lot as well. Thousands of kilometers from the front line, and it's triggered the worst fuel crisis in Russia, as probably the worst one they've ever seen, or at least in decades. 83 regions, that's it, were reported shortages. Food prices are rising. There are reports of people fighting over getting produce off the shelves. No, I always hear first that, and so on. It's a large oil producing company, and it is, but they have all country, sorry, or was, but now India is importing fuel to Russia. To the so the Russian economy is really really suffering. So I don't know the bigger picture on the Zelensky fired the um, defense secretary and somebody else. I don't know why necessarily, but there's been a bit of an uproar about that. But with Ukrainian citizens, I would like to think he knows what he's doing. So, comparatively, who do you think they know what they're doing? Putin or Zelensky? Well, I know which one I'm choosing. So between 55 and 150,000 Russian troops have died versus probably about. No, that's wrong. I'm trying to look at numbers here and not thinking straight. Hold on. Since the war began, nearly 500,000. And these reports, so that you think there's the numbers. That's the numbers we're given, but I think numbers are higher, unfortunately, as well. Nearly 500,000 Russian soldiers have died since the war began. Significantly more than Ukraine being reported. Fatalities, quote, anywhere between 55 and 150,000. So, yeah. And there's Russia's Victory Day. If you've ever seen any footage of Russia's Victory Day, they do this parade of weaponry and soldiers and so on. The recent one for Russia's Victory Day look incredibly pathetic. So weak and minimal because, they don't really have the resources. But they're going to carry on doing the same thing that isn't working anyway because Putin doesn't know how to get out of this. He's gone so far and he's fingers crossed, hope that he can carry on continuing in the hope that somebody would support him. I don't see that happening. You've got to be something well, all the world's leaders, there are lots, too many of the world's leaders are psychotic, stupid, backward, idiotic. So I shouldn't be surprised if somebody comes along and say, "Hey, Russia, we'll support you." Um, what's happening? What was happening with Russia's military is what I said would start happening to America's military. What happened with Russia's military resources, the hardware? Yeah. Well, I think I did make a video on that, and now it is actually being reported that America's resources are diminishing. The Some of the technology is too old. Some things like hangars, aircraft hangar areas are not being maintained enough. Everything's falling apart, rusting. Um, Things are not safe. Yeah, this is what happens when you get people defunding very important aspects in of an infrastructure for your military and defunding anything else, so a domino effect. The Department of Defense in America were having meetings during the beginning of Trump's second term. They were having meetings to talk about how they're going to protect themselves from this idiocy, this cultism of Trump. They weren't crazy doing that. They were having meetings because they could see how many yes people, yes men, were kissing his ass because they bought into the emotional talk rather than understanding the facts of the matter and started worshipping this fucking dumb, backward piece of shit, Donald Trump. So even the powerful oligarchs are actually turning on Putin. People in Putin's inner circle are being killed. He's next. Inevitably, he's gonna be somewhere. It's going to happen. So, like I said a few months back, sure it was a few months back. That's why I've been saying, and I've said it before, saying, "Oh, so and so, the war end because of this and that," and then realizing it's more complicated than that. So, granted, I've said this before. A lot of people have said this before, but it does look like a no-brainer right now. I'd be very, very surprised if this war continues past 2027 in terms of legitimacy. Like, maybe there'd be some troops trying to do some things to Ukraine, but essentially it would be over. Yeah. um, that's all I got to say for now. Thanks for watching. Take care. I look forward perhaps to doing another video. I'd like to say soon, but there's things going on that I really hope that can be solved here and there, or find ways to deal with it in better ways. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail there. Somebody needs help for my family, and we're trying to do what we can to get. There are medical. I got the medical ball rolling for them. That's coming our way soon. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye.